A speech on the competent communication manual, which the title is Flying with Abbott and Costello.
Thank you, Julia, for your wonderful, calming speech. That's great. Project 5 is Use Your Body. And it was a toss-up between a floor routine or a speech, which is called Flying with Abbott and Costello, because that seemed a lot easier than a floor routine. As we all know, we have a very important election coming up next week. It's Americanism versus globalism. And by now we know how biased the media are, and they'll spend 20 seconds on Hillary's lies or cover-ups and 20 minutes discussing something Donald Trump said 11 years ago as a private citizen. The media is 91% negative for Donald Trump. No matter what side you're on, that shouldn't be okay. But we have to vote for the same politicians who give us the same results, and so some facts need to be changed. The unemployment rate, they say, is 5%, but that doesn't include 95 million Americans who are not in the labor force, and so therefore they're not counted if they're not looking. The labor participation rate is the same as it was in 1977. The unemployment rate, therefore, is not really 5%. And there are nearly 48 million Americans on food stamps. Poverty and crime are exploding. The national debt from George Washington to George Bush has been doubled in the past 7 years. And most concerning is that core durable goods orders have contracted for the past 20 months. So who can believe what the media says, and who needs some comic relief after those very depressing facts? Many of you may not know Abbott and Costello because you're young or you didn't grow up with them. And they were considered to be America's most famous comedy duo of all time. If you've never heard of Abbott and Costello, you probably heard of their baseball routine, Who's on First, which is considered to be the gold standard of all comedy. And I found out that I had a lot in common with Lou Costello. I owe them a lot. They've helped me through an awful lot in life, providing humor in dark times and using them in situations when I needed courage. Lou Costello was a lifelong patriot, and he understood, maybe not directly, but how free market capitalism helped him to achieve his great success with Abbott as well. Because free market capitalism gives everyone an equal opportunity, not an equal outcome. Those are very different things. And today, we don't have free market capitalism, we have more like crony capitalism. But Lou Costello, Abbott and Costello were not educated. In fact, Bud Abbott left school at the age of 10. They didn't speak grammatically correct English almost ever, and it didn't matter because people absolutely loved them. And luckily for me, they were very prolific. They made lots of movies, they were on TV, 52 episodes. They have some great TV programs. One of them is called The Politician. It's very, very funny. And I bought a series of 35 of their movies, and I ended up watching one of them on a flight to Chicago. Many of you know that I'm very afraid of turbulence. I watched it in chronological order. It was 1941. It was a propaganda film, yes, but it was very great to see America celebrated as the greatest country the world had ever seen back when we won our wars. Except that the movie opens up with a stunt flyer. I had a seatmate going back to Beijing, and I was watching this movie, and I was really nervous when it started because the pilot goes pretty crazy, and before you know it, he was flying upside down. And as scary as it was, I thought it could be maybe positive, because I thought it might be the worst decision I'd ever made, but maybe it could work out. Because I had to admit, we were flying right side up and pretty steady for the most part. Abbott and Costello entered the movie as unskilled and inexperienced mechanics. And they are in a plane, and they think it has no engine. Luckily for them, it's a biplane, And they get in the plane, and Bud Abbott pushes a button, and they're airborne. And Lou Costello's really cold, so he gets out to get his jacket, and that's when they notice that they're way above the ground. And luckily, as I said, it's a biplane, so there they go. I am flying and watching this. Lou Costello gets back in the plane head first, crashes through the skin of the plane, one wheel falls off, the other wheel falls off, and I start smiling, and then I start laughing. So my second fear came true, either that I would be so traumatized I couldn't fly anymore, or that I couldn't stop laughing. And my seatmate is glancing over at this black and white movie and me laughing like crazy and probably happy to be going back to Beijing because Americans are crazy. And that was the end of that flight. Moving forward, there were a lot of other flights that were turbulent, but I had forgotten about this one because I had 33 movies to watch. And so one day it was turbulent, I was really nervous, and I started feeling the same tension that I always do. And then I thought I heard something. I thought I heard Lou Costello maybe screaming for Abbott on the wing of the plane, but we're on a 747, there's no biplane. And so nobody reacts, I didn't do anything, so I didn't say anything. But ever since then, whenever it gets turbulent, I hear Lou Costello on the wing of the plane, and I am laughing and flying, which has never happened before, ever. As curious as I am, every single time I board a plane, even though I'm tempted to ask, I never, ever wonder if Lou Costello has checked in for the flight.